It's the author of the romantic suspense book series Faraway Hearts. I'm Sharice Drake. Over the next few videos, I will be continuing to talk about the characters in my novels, specifically Rebekah's Rosette. But before I continue that, I want to talk about my character creation process. First, I have a confession to make. I love creating characters. It is a little bit of an obsession of mine. In my personal time, I play video games, especially ones where I get to create characters. And I can't even remember how many characters I have deleted just so I can create more, create a new one on games where there's a limit to how many characters you can have. But I just have so much fun creating them and envisioning how they look and what their backstory is and coming up with a name. To give you more of an idea of how much I enjoy creating characters, for my Faraway Heart series alone, I have come up with more than 200 characters. Now, don't worry, you don't have to keep track of all of these. Many of these are in the book maybe once or twice, in the entire series once or twice, and never show up again. And not even half of these are in Rebekah's novel. And so you don't have to worry about keeping track of any of them. They just add substance to the book, and they give me quite a bit of enjoyment coming up with, the minor character that speaks for a minute or two. I'll even typically give them names, not just, random person at the bank. Uh, and I will have an idea of how they look, even if I don't always say how they look in my novel. I still create a look for them. I give them a name, a background, even if it's not entirely drawn out like the main characters' backgrounds are, or even the supporting characters. To give you an idea of how I do this, how I come up with all these characters, I go about it in different ways, but one of the most common ways is I will start by, especially if I've brainstormed in my head and I'm not coming up with anything that really seems to say, this is this person. I will sometimes ask my family to help me brainstorm ideas. In fact, some of the most comical characters have come from my family, especially my husband. For instance, there's a character that he helped me create that is recurring, and this character just adds so much comic relief to the book, and I was a little leery about adding him, but now I can't even imagine the series without it. Sadly, he isn't in Rebekah's Rosette Part 1, but he does show up in Part 2, and that's his debut, and then he's continues to be in the novels after that. I have also talked to my daughter when she found out that her dad had created two characters. She wanted to create two characters, and she's getting older into her teen years, and all of my kids are like really creative. That's just something that our whole family has in common. We like to create things a lot of the times in different ways, but we enjoy imagination, and we've always encouraged our children to be imaginative. But she came to me and she asked if she could create two characters, and these would be two characters that end up together. And we talked for probably an hour just trying to figure out who these characters were, what their names were, what their backstories were, what they looked like, and just where they would fit in the story. And I guess, kind of had an opening for two characters at the time that I wasn't necessarily thinking were going to end up together, but it worked out so perfectly, and her ideas were really, really great, and it was entertaining. She had me read their introduction scene where they show up for the first time, and she was really excited about that, as was I. It was really, really fun to do that with her. And even my other kids, sometimes they won't even realize that they're inspiring a character for me. One of my daughters, she spelled someone's name wrong pretty bad, and I used that for a minor supporting character. But it was funny because the character was entertaining and his name was very unique. But I found out that they were actually real names, so I just decided to go with that. Anyways, so that's one of the ways that I go about it. Is I will bring in other people to kind of help me brainstorm, and my family is especially supportive of that because they enjoy doing that as well. Another way that I come up with characters, I use an AI called Wambo Dream, and that helps create the character's appearance. What I will do is I'll get a brief idea of what I want this person to look like. And sometimes I'll look at all of them and be like, nope, nope, that's not going to work. That's not this person. But it's fun to see what the AI will come up with. And then I'll find one and I'll be like, okay, we're going to use that, but we're going to change it so it gets closer to what I'm seeing in my head now. And then I can finally bring this character to life once I have this sort of visual in front of me. Then after I have that visual, I'll come up with a backstory. I'll come up with a name by going typically to the baby names online. I've also used a lot of names of people I know in my personal life, from my parents to even my kids' names are in the novels, as well as my husband's is a middle name for someone. And they're typically spelled pretty different. My name, Charisse, is also in the novel, but it's spelled differently. Her name is spelled Cherise. Now, there actually is kind of a funny story behind this. My dad was originally the one who wanted to name me Charisse, and my mom was fine with this, but he never told her how to spell it. And he happened to be out of the room when my mom was filling out the form, and she spelled it Sherice. And when he found out, he said, well, that's not how I wanted to spell it. But I I really enjoy the spelling, but I thought I would put a Charisse in a novel for him just so that into my story, so that he would be like, oh, okay, there's the Charisse. Even though she's not a lot like me, she has some similarities, but a lot of those aren't even discovered until her book. She is a pretty strong supporting character in Rebekah's book, but you don't really get to see the real her. Anyways, so that is how I create characters. It's a very fun process for me, and I'm excited to tell you about these characters that I have created. That's all part of the process, and they help bring joy to this experience of writing. And I look forward to sharing more about them with you. In the meantime, subscribe and stay tuned. Share with your friends. Bye for now.